everyone. Welcome to the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast. We're going to be talking about the housing market shift in the buyer's favor. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We are here with our newest team agent, Daniel Strickler.
Hi, folks. Thanks for having me today, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here. Glad I could be a part of the team.
So glad to have you here. We're very excited. Daniel has a lot of knowledge he's going to share with us. And so today we are going to be talking about this housing market shift you all have been hearing about.
You know, Jill, it's funny you say that. What are you seeing out there as far as for inventory?
Well, we were just talking about this. The inventory has actually increased, not hugely dramatically, but we're starting to see that trend creeping up. Last year, this time, we were looking at, a week, maybe 2 weeks of inventory on the market. Now we are up to a little over a month, approaching a month and a half. So we're seeing some more choices out there for our buyers.
Definitely some more choices out there. And that's great. And it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I've started to see the seller side of things come up on the market as well. This time last year, we probably had your average day on market was, 2 to 3 days, if you made it that long. Mm-hmm. And now we're starting to see that creep up around 27 days. So it's definitely shifting. So
you're having to prepare your sellers that it's going to take a little longer to sell. And then we're able to prepare the buyers that you're going to have some more choices out there.
Absolutely. You are
a breathing room. All right.
Couldn't be more on the money with that. Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. Well, so then as you're preparing your sellers, it used to be, I would be writing an offer and it was, we need to waive the appraisal. We need to accept the house as is. Are you preparing your sellers can they still expect those kind of offers?
Oh, and it's funny because we, as real estate agents, we of course don't have that crystal ball and never know how the deals are going to come together. But, the conversations that we're having now is, hey, we're not seeing buyers waive appraisal contingencies and we're not seeing those offers that are over asking price. And in a reality of things, I'm actually seeing some sellers due to time on the market, and everybody's situation is different, but we're actually seeing some reductions in prices. So we're not seeing so much of the over asking price market like we had last year.
Okay, talking about the reductions in prices, I've started having buyers ask me, well, they reduced in price. It's been on the market for 14 days. What's wrong with the house? Because they had that in their head that if it's not gone in 2 or 3 days, then there's got to be something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So we're definitely, I think, then on both sides seeing this. Everybody's starting to adjust to this new market.
Oh, yes. And it's rapidly changing, and just over the course of the last 6 months with the inventory increase that we've had and, shift in our demographic, not to mention what's going on across the nation with, interest rates, which I'm sure you're having a fun time dealing with that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Well, the one thing I did like that you actually, in chatting with you the other day, you mentioned, we were in an odd housing market. We were in the pandemic market.
Oh, yes.
And you mentioned we're getting back to normal.
Yes. So the conversation that I've been having with sellers is that, we're not going through, or for at least what we're seeing, we're not going through, a crash like what we've seen in the early 2000s. We're just getting back to some normalcy. Yep. What we've had over the last 2 years has been a false market. We had a big shift in demographic and, where people don't have to live in the high-rise apartments and live in these big cities mm-hmm. to where they could work from home, which caused, in my opinion, a large part of the housing boom that we had last year. Mm-hmm. But things are coming back to somewhat of a normalcy. Mm-hmm. So yes, with that said, houses are sitting a little bit longer. You got to get a little bit more creative with your marketing, and it's not so much, that you pop it on the market and, you've got 20 buyers at your door, but you're actually advertising and you're putting marketing out there. And, when you've got a great team behind you and people that are supporting you, on both sides of the transaction, it makes for things a lot more smoother.
Absolutely. And I know we have our marketing plan in place, a whole system of the way we do everything. But for anybody listening, not from Tucson, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. We have great agents everywhere. We can certainly help you connect with somebody in your market area who is an expert with what works there.
Absolutely.
Be absolutely happy to send you that information. So we're talking about, less concessions.
Now, sorry to interrupt. When you say less concessions, what do you mean by that?
When I say less concessions from the buyer side, I mean, they're forking over the extra money for the difference in appraisal. They're taking things as is. But now we're seeing they've got a little more negotiating power.
Oh, yes.
So now it's the sellers in some ways that have to be prepared to, if you have a seller who, has some deferred maintenance on their house, needing to prepare them that that's going to have to be taken care of.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking on the lending side again, there are on your federally backed loans things that have to be done. Mm-hmm. And some of these sellers last year where buyers were more giving, for lack of better words, and they were wanting to get into these houses, that we had buyers that were paying for, termite treatments and things like that, and federally backed loans such as USDA, FHAs, VAs, if it comes back that you have termites at the house, that's got to be taken care of mm-hmm. before your loan can get approved, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of last year, which sellers are starting to come back to where they give more concessions. And when I say concessions, they're making the repairs on the roof, or they're treating for termites, and doing different things like that. It's funny because I actually had a deal here about a month ago where closing costs were starting to come back, and that was part of the negotiation along with the home warranty that they wanted the seller to pay for. And, the sellers were more than willing and very giving. Awesome clients. I couldn't say anything better about them. Great people. But they were more than happy to help put the deal together and do what it takes to where we had a win-win on both sides.
Hey everyone, we want to interrupt this episode to let you know that we are a Keller Williams Southern Arizona franchise.
We are also realtors practicing equal housing. Now let's get you back to the podcast.
Okay, well, that's great to hear as somebody who often is writing those offers for your sellers. But I think it's also a good point. This shift in the housing market, people, part of what seems to be scaring people is the interest rates going up. But I think the fact that now, you're seeing closing costs being covered, coming back, as in seller concessions, things being paid for. So while that interest rate may be higher, you are coming possibly out of pocket less in the short term like that. And then another thing that I know we wanted to talk about was, don't get scared of these interest rates coming up, because everybody has in their head, kind of like everybody has in their head, like, oh, I have to have 20% down. This is, in order to buy a house. That's not true. And there was also things beyond FHA, conventional VA, and all of
absolutely.
That. So if you would like to hear some more about some creative lending solutions, take a look at our podcast 80, where we talk about adjustable rate mortgage. I know they got a bad rap, like we said, during the housing market crash, but they're a really good solution for people who still want to get in a home now. Maybe it's just a little out of reach. So take a look at our podcast 80 for some ideas on that.
Jill, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because if you look at a national statistic, people generally only stay in a house 5 to 7 years. And if you've got a great interest rate off of an ARM loan, you have your options. You're going to give less per month. You're still going to be able to afford that great house that you want. And guess what? When it's time to move again, you can get right out of it. Or if you decide to stay, refinance.
Yep.
We don't know what the interest rates will be in the next 6 months. So take it today, move in, buy the house. Don't be afraid.
Exactly. And a lot of that does have to do with, again, speaking with somebody who knows your options, knows who to put you in touch with to find out about those lending options and help you navigate all of that. And That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Always happy to help.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us today. And
yes, ma'am.
We
Pleasure.
appreciate everybody. See you next time.
Thank you for listening and watching the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast here with the Tom J. Krieger team of Keller Williams Southern Arizona. If you are interested in buying a home, selling a home, or even investing in real estate, we have 5,000 agents across the country that we can connect you to. If you need any free resources, feel free to check out our website at www.thetjkteam.com. We hope you have a great day.